Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to explore the big shifts happening in our digital lives. And today, we're looking at something huge. It's about how we find and use information online. For decades, we've had this one main way of interacting with the internet's knowledge base. So, our mission today, we want to unpack how large language models, LLMs, are shifting them away from just typing keywords into a search box. We're moving towards something entirely new. We'll dig into the amazing potential, but also the serious downsides, and ultimately what it means for how you learn, how you check facts, and just how you think in this digital age.
Yeah, it's a really important topic because this isn't just some tech update, is it? It feels more fundamental, like a real shift in how we relate to knowledge itself.
Exactly, a cognitive shift. So let's maybe start with the familiar, the old way, the keyword model. Remember, you needed something, you went to Google, maybe Bing, typed in a few words.
Carefully chosen words, usually.
Right, or you hoped they were the right ones. And then, bam, pages of blue links. And your job was to click, span, go back, click another.
Yeah, the digital archaeology, as you put it, sifting through the pile.
And look, it worked. I mean, it scaled incredibly well as the web just exploded with content. It was efficient for indexing that chaos. But, cracks started to show. People wanted more than just a list of potential places to look. They wanted answers.
They wanted synthesis.
Yeah, and maybe less fiddling with the search terms. You kind of wished you could just ask a question naturally, like you'd ask a person, more of a conversation.
And that highlights the core limitation. If
Yeah.
you think about it, that keyword model treated language basically as signals, like little flags.
Okay.
It matched the words in your query to words in documents it had indexed. Very clever, very powerful for what it did.
Yeah.
Well, the actual work of understanding, of putting the pieces together, that was all on you, the user.
Right. The synthesis burden was entirely ours. Okay, so that brings us to the shift. LLMs. How are they fundamentally different in, understanding language?
Well, this is the revolutionary part.
Yeah.
So search engines, as we said, see language as signals, keywords. Match this word to that document. Even the fancy AI stuff they added later was often still rooted in that word matching idea.
Okay, got it. Signals.
LLMs, though, they treat language as context, as this rich, interconnected web of meaning.
Context. How does that work, technically?
Roughly.
So they use these things called transformer architectures, really complex neural networks. And what they do is turn words into, think of them as numerical representations, vectors in a huge multidimensional space.
Like coordinates?
Exactly. Coordinates that capture relationships, nuance, tone, the whole shebang. Words with similar meanings or that are used in similar ways end up closer together in this space.
Wow.
So it's not just matching apple to apple. It's understanding that apple, the fruit, is different from Apple, the company, and it knows how those concepts relate to other things based on how we use language. It interprets your intent.
So it's moving from just matching words to actually trying to figure out what I mean when I ask something. Precisely. And then generating a response based on that understanding. It's a dialogue, not just a lookup.
That phrase you used, language as context, that really feels like the core of it. It changes the whole interaction.
It absolutely does. It transforms information seeking from, a transaction, give me links for these keywords, into something closer to an actual conversation, an interpretation.
Which leads directly to the kind of results you'd like, right? That's completely different, too.
Oh, massively different.
With old search, the output was always references. Here are 10 articles, 5 videos, maybe a forum post. Go figure it out yourself.
Here's the library. Good luck finding the quote.
Exactly. The synthesis, making sense of it all, that was your job every single time.
Yep.
But LLMs, they give you answers, synthesized answers. They pull together information from their training data and generate, actual text that directly addresses your question.
Right. It feels like a finished product, or at least a first draft.
Yeah. Instead of hunting through 10 links, you get this structured response. It often feels like someone already did the research for you, and you can ask follow-up questions. It adapts.
It's a completely different user experience paradigm.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's the difference between getting ingredients and getting a cooked meal.
Yeah.
The information journey doesn't just point you somewhere. It often tries to conclude somewhere with a tailored response, or at least get you much closer, much faster.
Okay, so let's get into the exciting stuff, the promises. What makes LLMs so powerful for you, the user?
Well, the first thing has to be that understanding we talked about.
Right, the context thing.
Yeah. They can handle nuance. They can often figure out complex conversational questions that would just break a keyword search. You can ask things more naturally.
Like explain quantum physics, but focus on the observer effect and make it understandable for a smart teenager.
Exactly. Or summarize the main arguments for and against universal basic income, citing key studies from the last 5 years, that kind of thing.
Okay, that's huge. What else?
Synthesis. Their ability to pull together information from different areas is incredible.
Combining insights?
Yeah. Summarizing complex topics, explaining connections between fields, even generating creative text like poems or code tailored to your specific request. It's like having a research assistant who can instantly connect dots across vast amounts of information.
And the personalization aspect.
That's key too, because it's a dialogue, you can refine things.
Yeah.
No, that's not quite what I meant. Or can you elaborate on that point? The LLM adjusts. It learns your intent through the conversation.
So it feels more human-centered.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It gets us closer to that idea of a digital assistant that actually gets you.
When you put it all together, understanding synthesis, personalization, the potential for efficiency, and just deeper insight seems enormous.
It really does. Imagine the time saved, the complexity you can tackle when the tool handles that initial heavy lifting of finding and summarizing. It frees you up for the higher level thinking.
Okay, but there's always a but, isn't there?
Yes, with great power.
Comes great potential for things to go wrong. Let's talk pitfalls. The big one everyone mentions is hallucinations. What does that actually mean here?
Right. So because LLMs are statistical models, they're predicting the next most likely word. They can sometimes generate text that sounds perfectly plausible, totally confident, but is just wrong. Factually incorrect.
Made up.
Essentially, yes. They might invent sources, misstate facts, create details out of thin air, all because statistically, those words fit together well based on the patterns in their training data. It sounds right, even if it isn't.
And that's dangerous because it's not obviously wrong sometimes.
Exactly. It's plausible nonsense. And unlike a search engine link, where you can click and check the source.
LLMs often don't tell you where they got the information, do they?
Generally, no. The answer is presented as a single synthesized piece. Verification becomes much harder for you. You don't have that clear trail back to the origin.
That lack of clear sourcing is a big one. What else?
Well, there's the issue of their knowledge being static, or at least not always up to the minute.
Because they're trained on data up to a certain point.
Precisely. Unless they're specifically integrated with live web search or constantly retrained, their core knowledge base gets outdated. For fast-moving fields or breaking news, they might give you old information.
Which could be misleading or even harmful in some contexts, like medical advice.
Absolutely. And then there's bias.
Bias. How does that creep in?
It comes from the data they're trained on.
Yeah.
Trillions of words from the internet, books, articles.
Yeah.
All reflecting existing societal biases, stereotypes, historical inequities.
So the AI learns our biases.
It learns the patterns in the data, which include those biases, and the human feedback used to fine-tune them can also inadvertently reinforce certain viewpoints or cultural norms. So the outputs can sometimes perpetuate stereotypes or offer skewed perspectives without you even realizing it.
Wow. Okay, so hallucinations, obscure origins, static data, bias. That's a hefty list of warnings.
It is, and it really underscores that LLMs aren't a replacement for search engines or for critical thinking. They're a powerful complementary tool.
Complementary. That feels important. They change the ecosystem, but don't necessarily kick everything else out.
Exactly. They reshape the information landscape. They change how we find things, how much we trust different sources. But you still need those other tools, and you definitely still need your own brain engaged.
So let's zoom out a bit. Beyond just search, what are the bigger implications? You mentioned a cognitive shift earlier. What does that mean for us, for society, for how you listening might learn or make decisions going forward?
Well, the big thing is that by taking over some of the synthesis work, the gathering, summarizing, first draft creation, LLMs fundamentally change how we allocate our own cognitive resources.
We offload some of the thinking.
We offload some of the process,
Yeah.
which has huge upsides. Speed, efficiency, maybe tackling problems that were too complex before because the information synthesis was too burdensome, democratizing access to complex knowledge, potentially.
But that's the opportunity.
The risk, though, is that if we rely on them too much, if we stop doing that synthesis work ourselves, do we risk, well, de-skilling? Do our critical thinking muscles atrophy? Do we lose the ability to evaluate sources properly or even the curiosity to dig deeper ourselves?
That's a scary thought, outsourcing our reasoning.
It's a potential pitfall we need to be conscious of. As these tools get embedded everywhere, education, healthcare, law, creative work, We, as a society, need new norms. How do we ensure responsible use? How do we maintain trust? How do we verify AI-generated information, especially when it influences important decisions?
It really forces us to think about what skills are most important in this new era.
It does. And maybe it puts more emphasis on critical evaluation, on asking good questions, on understanding context, things humans are still uniquely good at. But we have to consciously cultivate those skills. We can't just assume they'll stick around if we're constantly letting the machine do the initial thinking for us.
So, thinking about the whole system, LLMs aren't just tools we use in isolation, right? They're becoming part of the fabric of the internet.
Absolutely. Think of them as powerful new nodes in the information network. They interact with us, the users. They interact with the platforms that host them. They interact with the creators whose content they were trained on and whose future content they might compete with. They interact with regulators trying to figure out the rules.
Creating feedback loops.
Exactly. Complex feedback loops. Will they lead to a richer, more informed public sphere, or echo chambers filled with plausible misinformation? Will they empower individual creators or concentrate power in the hands of those who control the models?
And the outcome isn't set in stone?
Not at all. It depends on the choices we make as individuals, as companies, as societies about how we develop, deploy, and interact with these technologies, how we shape those loops.
So, wrapping this up, it feels like the main takeaway is that LLMs are way more than just better search.
Oh, much more.
They represent a fundamentally new way to interact with information, maybe even to think with machines. It's this blend of our curiosity and their ability to synthesize vast amounts of data.
A collaboration, ideally.
Yeah. And their real impact isn't just the answers they spit out, but all those ripple effects on how we learn, how businesses operate, how we trust information, how society governs itself.
And maybe, just maybe, a final thought to leave people with.
Go for it.
As we delegate more that initial synthesis, finding facts, summarizing, maybe the truly valuable human skill becomes asking the right questions, having the critical insight to know what to ask, how to probe the answers, how to connect the dots in a way the machine can't.
So questioning becomes even more important than knowing.
It could be. How will you, the listener, use these incredibly powerful tools, but also make sure you're strengthening, not weakening, your own ability to think critically and independently? That's the challenge and the opportunity ahead.
A really powerful point to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the shifting landscape of information. We hope it's given you some food for thought about your own relationship with these tools. Until next time, keep digging deeper.